Welcome to Friday Morning Dharma on February 17th.
Oh, 20,
What is it?
it's the 27th,
Today's the 27th? Whoops, what did I say?
17th.
Oh, 27th. Sorry about that, everybody. February 27th. Why don't we settle in for some meditation? Please take care to ensure that your spine is straight and relaxed. We can be facing straight ahead with our head tilted slightly forward. Our mouth is closed, our jaw is relaxed. And if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and softly close your eyes. And as we settle in for some meditation this morning, please feel free to silently mount our new 3-word mantra on the breath. As you inhale, silently recite the word rest. At the top of your inhalation, silently say the word relax. Exhale, release. Please gently bring your awareness to the muscles that support your jaw. And I'd like you to allow at once all of those tiny muscles to release, to relax. Allow any tension to dissolve into empty space, to dissolve into space like emptiness. Allow the muscles in your chest to become soft and relaxed. And your lungs are now able to perform perfectly and without effort their natural function of breathing. Please allow the muscles in your hips and your pelvic area to become soft and relaxed, as well as the muscles in your legs, down through your calves to your feet and toes, resting and settling like a mountain with consciousness. Like a mountain with Zen consciousness. A mountain with ancient wisdom awareness. I'd like you now to please bring to mind someone in your life, someone with whom you are close, who is experiencing emotional suffering, physical suffering, or both. I'd like you now to imagine that this person is seated in the space in front of you, facing you, with their eyes at the level of your eyes. Compassion is a loving wish to free another from their suffering. Of all virtuous states of mind, compassion is supreme. So for the next few moments, You guys were having connectivity problems. I'm sorry. Grace, you can't see me or hear me? Hmm.
Jeff, I can now. You just reappeared.
Oh, okay, good, good.
Your voice and you.
Okay. Wow. This has been a strange connectivity morning this
Mercury went
morning.
into retrograde yesterday.
I beg your pardon?
Mercury went into retrograde yesterday.
Did it really? There's Mercury,
Yesterday,
Dawn
or the
says
day before.
Mercury went into retrograde recently, so that makes sense.
Well, the mobile and internet access in the Membris Valley has been going in and out for 5 days. 5 days.
Wow, wow,
So this is
serious stuff.
normal. This is normal for me.
Okay. I'm sorry for your new normal, Grace.
That's quite all right. I'm quite adaptable.
Okay. So, so we are going through the root delusion now, the root delusion of ignorance, talking about this under the or within the context of the Four Noble Truths. The second of the Four Noble Truths, you should abandon origins. We should abandon the origins of suffering if we want to be free from suffering. Um, this involves talking about delusions, as you know, and talking about the root delusion, the delusion from which all of our problems arise. And this is ignorance. Lots of forms of ignorance that we've been talking about over the basically through our entire discussion of the second noble truth. Um, We're now on the root delusion of ignorance and talking about the antidote to ignorance, wisdom realizing emptiness. Now, this is a really, as I've said before, this is a really, really profound topic. And it is easy, I have found, with profound topics, profound spiritual topics, profound topics in Buddhism. It can be easy for me, anyways, to kind of lose my way, to kind of forget why I'm doing this. You know, emptiness is, I think, wisdom realizing emptiness is a fascinating topic. Um, and it's so cool to think about and to contemplate and kind of get lost in sometimes it's easy for us to get lost in the thickets of the intellectual stimulation that comes from contemplating this. And so it's for that reason that I wanted to meditate this morning on compassion. You know, it's not for our own intellectual amusement that the Buddha made teachings on emptiness available. It's so that we could train our minds, heal our minds, and thus be of more complete, more beneficial service to others. You know, even if we don't think of ourselves as being sort of service oriented, just becoming a better person, sort of not acting out when things don't go the way we want them to, not freaking out when things don't go the way we do, you know, casting misguided animosity toward others. You know, we can get confused and think, oh, the first I should abandon origins. I should abandon that means abandoning people who get on my nerves and just like purging them from my life. No, it's abandoning the delusions. Those are the real origins. And if we keep our mind tethered to compassion and loving kindness, but if for our meditation this morning in particular, compassion, you know, everyone suffers. Everyone encounters difficult situations, you know? Something that's been in my field for a long time, and I know this isn't news to anyone in this class. Um, just this kind of Western philosophical theory. And my way of thinking, it's a review that when we're kids, we're like blank slates, and we just take in an unfiltered way everything that happens. I guess sort of like the closing of the filter partially is age 8 or so. But until then, we take in everything in an unfiltered way, and it becomes part of our reality. You know, all of our parents have made mistakes, honest mistakes, of course, but made mistakes. All of us have been rejected by friends, subject of cruelty during those years from 1 to 8. Everybody has experienced these things, and they make imprints on our mind, on our reality, and cause us to behave in ways that aren't helpful, that indeed can be harmful, that are confusing, misguided, aggressive, whatever. And I think that's a absolute rock solid basis for us to have compassion for others, right? Kind of like innocent bystanders children are when they take this stuff. Our children's selves are when we take this stuff in. I think it's important for us to try to keep that in mind for ourselves and others, and let that be the motivation for us to dive deep into teachings like the Heart Sutra, subtle impermanence, dependent origination, all of these profound topics, non-dualistic view, non-dualism. Let our compassion be that which impels us on this path, and to learn these teachings and acquire them as tools. That's what this is about. And I think it's really important for us to be reminded of this, to remind ourselves of this for as much as often as we can. So, with that said, 6 minutes left. The point of departure for our consideration and our study of wisdom realizing emptiness is for us to ask ourselves this fundamental question. When we encounter a phenomenon, okay, a person, I guess I should include animals, a person, any other type of being, a person and any other type of non-human being, situations, inanimate objects, what is really there? What is really there? What is at the absolute core of what is really there? The word really underlined, bolded, and italicized. What is really there? And if we can find out what is really there, then we'll have a wisdom understanding of what we're dealing with. Does that make any sense at all? Things appear to our mind, and we just sort of take them wholesale as though, like I said on Monday, what you see is what you get. But like with the building, when we start like diving down deep into the parts of the building, and those parts and those parts and those parts, building disappears into the parts. Same with our body. Same with everything. So Buddhist vernacular is what is inherently there. What is the inherent makeup, the inherent composition of a thing? People, situations, places, inanimate objects, non-human beings. What is their inherent nature? And if we can sort of get to the nub of it, then at least we'll know what we're dealing with, right? one of the important litmus tests for a phenomenon existing inherently from its own side is it's having independent existence. See, I think it follows that if a thing really has inherent existence, then it also exists independently without requiring anything else. No? Think about that. These are, for a lot of us, kind of new ideas. On Monday, we talk about, this building doesn't exist independently. It depends on its parts. So it is for every other phenomenon in this world, except two. And we'll talk about what the other two are later down the road. I don't want to muddy the waters any more than they might already be. Something existed independently, another litmus test. And by the way, this is true. This is really presented in the Heart Sutra. This isn't Jeff making stuff up on a caffeine buzz, right? Phenomena depend on causes too, right? As in cause and effect. The plant depends on a seed. Like the cause of the plant, of the corn plant, is a corn seed. It's the cause. But it also depends on conditions, moisture, sunlight, nutrients in the soil and the soil. Yeah. So it is with all other phenomena. If the thing was inherently existing, then it could exist independently. Then no such phenomena exist because they depend on causes. So this body, this sense of self, and by the way, I promised on Monday that I would talk about like the most important phenomenon for us to understand the true inherent essence of in the name of achieving full awakening, full enlightenment, complete and permanent liberation from suffering is this entity called self, me, mine. What's really there behind this I? What's the true essence of what's there? Does it exist inherently? It doesn't. Like all other phenomenon, it depends on parts for its existence. It depends on causes for its existence. Why does that matter? Because if we can come to see the emptiness of self, please burn this into your consciousness. If we can come to see the emptiness, the lack of inherent existence of me, of self, then who or what is really there to experience problems and difficulties? It's like a dream object, this sense of self doesn't have inherent existence. Its true nature is it's being empty of inherent existence. That meaningful absence of inherent existence. That's what that defines all phenomena, including a sense of self, including this self that we cling to and freak out about and consumes all of our interests and all of our priorities and everybody we think about. Our frame of reference for everything we do is self, me. So what happens if we see that self is not inherently existent? It's empty of inherent existence. What basis is there then for problems? What basis is there for suffering? This is what the Heart Sutra reveals. Okay, last thing before we go. I'm already a minute over. Last thing before we go. Emptiness is not nothingness. Emptiness is a meaningful absence. We might think nothingness, meaningful absence, whatever, close. Let's not split hairs over this. For reasons we'll talk about later, maybe not in our discussion of the Four Noble Truths, but there is a difference. Just sit with that for a while. the difference between nothing and an absence. It's subtle, but they're not the same thing. And it's through this absence, this meaningful absence, that things arise. And I'm getting too far into it. But the four profundities of the Heart Sutra: form is empty, emptiness is form. Out of space like emptiness, as a result of this meaningful absence, there's a potential. That's what the second profundity tells us. Form is empty, including our sense of self. There's just a meaningful absence. That's what the first profundity says. Second noble truth says emptiness is form. It says there's a potential there. There's a meaningful absence, there's a potential. And from that potential, things arise. Like the sky, like the blue sky. Just another minute or two, you guys, because I've opened this. I can't leave it hanging like this. The example I always use about form's empty, emptiness is form. My business idea, you guys have heard me talk about this before. My business idea, we're going to charter a plane. We're going to get a bunch of empty glass bottles, and we're going to fly up in the sky, and we're going to bottle blue sky, bring it back down to ground, back to earth, and sell it. We'll make a fortune. Lotus Center's fundraising worries will be over forever, right? We charter the plane, we fly up, there's the blue sky, let's go get it. And we get up there in the middle of the blue sky, and there's an absence of blue sky, an emptiness of blue sky. Okay, form is empty. All right, we tell the charter plane pilot, take us back down to the Grant County Municipal Airport, and we're discouraged and we're dejected that this business idea isn't going to bear as much fruit as we thought. We get on the ground and we look back up at the sky, and there's the blue sky again. Emptiness is form. Out of that space-like emptiness, which we found when we went up to try to find the blue sky, out of that space-like emptiness, blue sky appears. So there's a potential there. That's what the second profundity tells us. Emptiness is form. Okay. Why are we doing this again? Why are we talking about this? So we can become better people and not cause harm and suffering to those around us by awakening through wisdom insights as offered by the Heart Sutra, among other teachings. Okay. You guys listen to it. If you're confused, it's understandable. Listen to these teachings. The recordings are on Lotus Center's YouTube page. Listen to them over and over and over. I've listened to teachings by one of my very first teachers in New York City, Morton Clausen. I've listened to some of his teachings on wisdom realizing emptiness 100 times. I'm not kidding. We just have to expose ourselves over and over and over, and eventually it will be, oh, I get it. I get it. And please remember, emptiness is not nothingness. Emptiness is an absence. Okay, enough. Thanks, you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.